Alrighty, welcome back to Shut Up and Ball post NFL draft. Been a wild weekend. We're not, yeah, it's Sunday. It's been a few days since we recorded. Lots happened. First off, I mean, how was your draft, John? Obviously as a Cowboy, we'll get more into it. But overall, how was your draft experience? And how's maybe your weekend been?
It was pretty good. I mean, no matter what happens, I love the NFL draft. I love just the time of hope, and thinking like, man, one day I'm going to look back and maybe this guy will be crazy. Maybe he'll be a bust, whatever. Regardless, you know that some team has, had their future forever changed because of what happened during the draft. And also, I love just the whole process, all these guys, you don't know who's going to go, all this kind of stuff, the smoke screens, everything. So I love it. I especially just love how it's over 3 days. The first round is always crazy, but I mean, I equally love the second and third round. The fourth through seventh, I don't know as
Like
many
it's
people,
tough.
but there's
Yeah.
always like a few like highlighted names that I'm really interested to see where they go. Especially since like I went to Baylor and historically we don't have like a ton of guys who go super high in the draft, but it's always fun to see which guys end up, being a day three pick. So I had a good time. Obviously, the everyone knows who I wanted in the draft, and he went right before the Cowboys pick. So that kind of sucked. But other than that, I mean, we'll get into the whole thing later. Other than that, it was a great time.
Yeah, I watched the BR draft. And yeah, I did enjoy it. Akib Talib brought he was good overall, but he brought some interesting points, and it was awkward there with Cameron Jordan, especially when with the Saints pick, because
When they picked the
he
defensive
tried
lineman.
so hard to be nice, but like his face, you could just tell like he was a little disappointed.
Yeah.
Like that maybe he was like, I don't know if it was time to get this guy. And it's funny because Akib even called him out on it. It's like, oof. And he tried to defend it. So, I mean, obviously we'll get into that. But, yeah, it was full of surprises. But obviously, I think the news that, anyone that knows me and anyone that just, follows football or this podcast especially, but the news that dominated draft day came a few hours before draft day. Adam Schefter, it was live. He reported that Aaron Rodgers wants out basically, and then I think another report came over I think yesterday or the day before that mainly. Oh, that same day, Jay Glazer also reported this is more than just a contract thing. Rodgers, this is a lot more than just money. And then obviously, I think yesterday, while he was at the Kentucky Derby, and I forgot, and I don't know who reported this one. Maybe Schefter again, but someone did report that Rodgers wants GM Brian Gutekunst out. That seems to be one of his conditions. But and then there's also the other reports that he will retire if he needs to, and and then also I remember I saw shortly after Adam reported on Thursday, he had three preferred draft destinations, or trade destinations, which were San Francisco 49ers, the Denver Broncos, and the Las Vegas Raiders. But obviously, I have a lot to say about this. But John, I'll let you kick it off first. What were your thoughts in regards to this? And I guess we'll start with that, and then we'll go further. This may take a minute. So, what were your thoughts when you saw this report that Rodgers wants out?
Well, immediately when I saw it, I had to verify this was true. It said via Adam Schefter, but I was like, hold on, because a lot of some of these reports are like, yeah, that makes sense, but I didn't see this coming at all. I was pretty shocked, especially right before the draft. It felt like maybe right after the draft, it would have been like a little more like, oh, like he wasn't happy with who they took, but it was right before. And ultimately, I think he's probably felt this way for a little bit, but it was released at the time it was for a reason, and maybe that was to put pressure on the team to actually draft someone that could help him. I don't know if that's a fact, or maybe it was to even put pressure on the team to make a move right then and there because a team like San Francisco, who has the asset like the number three pick, would offer it. Reportedly, no team actually ever made an official offer because it seems as though obviously the Packers shut down every phone call. They're like, no, we're not trading him, which I think was a smart move. You don't want to rush anything. You don't want to, you want to at least talk to him, because I imagine at that point maybe they hadn't even talked to him yet, and the news hadn't come out about the GM or all these kind of things. So I was shocked at first, and it definitely sort of was the narrative of draft night, which I know for some people was kind of a bummer. I saw that Joe Horn, JC Horn's dad, was kind of annoyed that his son didn't get a whole lot of attention when he was drafted, because they were talking about Aaron Rodgers apparently. I don't know what broadcast he was watching.
Probably should have
ESPN
been.
did not
Yeah,
talk about it.
it was probably ESPN because BR they mentioned it at first, but then like they really were pretty much like they stuck to the point of the draft.
I think it had to be NFL Network, because ESPN, Mel Kiper, those guys, they didn't talk about it really even once, to my recollection, except for maybe when the Packers came up to pick. But when J.C. Horn got drafted, it was all about him. It was about Matt Rule. It was about the Panthers defense, the whole deal. So anyway, yeah, it was definitely sort of this looming storm of the whole draft night, because there was this sort of anticipation behind who the Packers would take, and if they would, if their selections would be in response to the news story. I will say, if he is moved, if he is traded, I'm worried, because there's a few teams out there that maybe don't make an offer right now, but if say, for example, he's moved a year from now, all I'm saying, and I don't want to speak this into existence, but if the Daniel Jones make or break year right now doesn't work out, the Giants should be making a call. Obviously, I think Washington should be making a call. I mean, they're very similar to like a San Francisco, where they have a lot of the pieces, but if they had a quarterback like that, it'll all work out. Regardless, I still in my mind think that maybe once this GM report kind of came out that he wants the GM out, I thought that it felt a little similar to like Russell Wilson when he was like, maybe I want to be traded, but maybe a little more direct, to where there were some ulterior motives at hand. And I think that it's sort of come out that I think he just wants the GM gone. I think there's a lot of reasons why. Apparently he wants an extension and the GM doesn't want to commit, which logically, when they drafted Jordan Love, you kind of understand, like, okay, well, Jordan Love's eventually going to take over, so they don't want to play out his entire rookie contract without him ever seeing him play, right? But also you have Aaron Rodgers, so they're in a tough spot there. Also, I think it probably has to do with the draft selections. He probably doesn't like some of the stuff there. I mean, maybe it's his personal relationship with the GM. I don't know what all is going into that decision, but I think it's, like you said, it's more than just money, or it's more than just the draft. It's a combination of a lot of things that have led us to this point. I truly don't know what's going to happen. I have no predictions. It could go any which way, because in my mind, it still would just feel so weird not to see Aaron Rodgers retire as a Packer.
Yeah. So, I forgot who reported this, but there were multiple reports that apparently the front office has known this, and they've tried to talk to Rodgers. I've seen the reports that they've tried to get in contact with him, and he is just not wanting it. It seems like he's made his point clear. I think just the fact, so let me start with this. I do agree with you. I think maybe not directly Aaron, but someone in Aaron's camp, they wanted this out, because
at the time it was
released on draft day. Because remember, it was only last draft when it was the big news was Jordan Love. And once again, feel bad for Jordan Love. He just got caught. He's caught in the crossfire of this. This isn't about really Jordan Love.
He deserves
the player.
No hate.
But so with that being said, this is on, in my opinion, the GM, the front office, because when you drafted Jordan Love, you had to have known this was going to happen. You had to know this was, you put an expiration date pretty much on Aaron Rodgers in the time. And yeah, I mean, I'm with Rodgers as a fan. I mean, I think I've probably made it clear in our posts. And it seems like I think Packer fans know this time. I mean, I've been looking through the BR community app, Packer community. And sometimes they're all over the place. And especially, I think we've seen with, Russell Wilson, some of these other guys, or just in general stars nowadays, they seem to get for the most part, negative reaction from the fans. Like, oh, why don't you commit to us? But it seems like because the Green Bay community fans we've been through this before with Brett Favre. Now, granted, I know everyone's like, but it was Aaron Rodgers. It worked out. It's not going to work out every time. And
Right.
as much as I like Jordan Love, we don't know if Jordan Love's going to be. He could be, but we still don't know. And we didn't know about Rodgers then. So I think that's important. And I just, something I said to one of my friends, I think I may mention in our group chat, is this there's just so much more than just Jordan Love. It's just that I think there's a stat that we've only drafted one offensive player in the past like 10 or 11 years, and it was Jordan Love in the first round. So that says a lot. And people are saying, well, they're trying to help the defense, but especially as a Packer fan, you can go back and look at those first round picks. We've had some pretty bad drafts. Like there was Kenny Clark. There's a few ones. Kenny Clark worked out. Jair worked out. But then there's the year where we got Demarius Randall and Quentin Rollins first and second round. They were off the team in 2 years. And, it's just, it became reliant on, and we did the same thing kind of with Favre, where it's just, I don't know of any other organization, even in any sport, that have had two generational players. I think we can both say that Favre and Rodgers, I don't care where you rank them, they're probably in the conversation for top 5 quarterbacks of all time, talent-wise. And we only have 2 Super Bowls. And I think they were with the team both now combined 32 years, I think, because I think Favre, and you only have 2 quarterbacks.
16 years.
And it's not like, we haven't been, and so I just think, I know this is a new front office, different from the one that Favre was in. Still, Mark Murphy as the president, even though Green Bay's fan owned. It's tough. And sorry, just to put up, in case the stopping point, I don't blame Aaron for wanting out. And as much as I would love to see him in a Green Bay jersey, I do want this to be worked out. If I had to put money on it now, I honestly I can't say with confidence that I think he'll come back. I think that he knows that yes, his time is coming. He's only got a couple of years left, but I think he's like I just came off an MVP season. I played great, and no one they haven't done anything to help me. And especially I think the final straw. And once again, sorry, let me preface this. I think Matt LaFleur, he's been stuck. I texted you this. He's been stuck in the middle. It seems like, because he's the coach. He's not. The drafting decisions aren't all on him. So I think, he was forced to play both sides and just has been, pulled both ways. And then the final straw, I think, for Rodgers, because I'm assuming Rodgers and him had an okay relationship, contrary to popular belief. But what may have been the final straw was that divisional, what happened in the conference championship game when Rodgers felt that they thought that he had one more play and LaFleur took it out of his hands and tried to trust their defense against Tom Brady. Our defense against Tom Brady, and we all saw what happened from there. And and I think, and people say, and I think also maybe the Jeopardy thing, and maybe this fiance just opening Aaron's eyes to seeing, maybe, just him realizing that he can have a better situation, and then also because he lived through the Favre situation, the other side. Once again, I think he's trying to get ahead of of being put out as the bad guy again or being thrown to the pasture, and he's just taking charge. So, I regardless, I'm not sure what he'll go for. I'm not sure where he'll go. We can maybe talk. You already mentioned a few destinations. I think Washington is a very interesting one because they didn't really draft. I forgot to draft it. I don't think they drafted a quarterback. We thought they would maybe, but that was still a very good team. Got we'll talk about their draft. It's still got good offensive line, good weapons. Maybe come training camp, if things don't get better from Green Bay, Washington makes a call, say, hey, we have a temporary placeholder in Fitzpatrick. We have some first-round picks. We have some young talent. Maybe you want one of our defensive linemen. We're willing to part with him and, maybe a linebacker or something just to grab Aaron. And then Green Bay's kind of forces. So that's my only worry as a Packer fan as to why I'm worried that because we didn't trade him on draft night, if the situation isn't fixed, it's a gamble because then we're going to lose value. Because we could have, like you mentioned,
Right.
Or if the Packers, if they trade on draft night, I think that was the best offer they're going to get is maybe from the 49ers, that 3rd overall pick,
Right.
Maybe another first and things like that, and a player. And now you kind of just, if they trade him to Washington, in theory, they're going to have a good first-round pick. It's going to be a low-end pick. So, all in all, just to sum it up, I don't blame Aaron. I hope whatever happens, he's happy. And just, I mentioned it before in our last year. Just we really don't deserve him. We didn't really deserve. We were blessed by getting 2 generational quarterbacks, and we really haven't done much to help them. So I don't blame him. Hope he finds happiness, but I hope we figure this out. But yeah. In regards to destinations, I think I just mentioned San Francisco is likely. Denver also. Sorry, maybe Teddy Bridgewater. Um, and then that would still be a very good team. I mean, that would be fun though. Imagine Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers and Justin Herbert all in the same conference. That would be wild. But otherwise, I mean, to put a cap on that, it is kind of what it is at this point, and I'm not too shocked that he wants out, and I'm glad that he's made it public, so that now the balls really is in the front office's court.
Yeah, and I'll add too that unlike the Brett Favre situation, I mean Brett wasn't playing at an MVP level, right? When he was released, or I don't did y'all cut him? I don't know what happened.
We trade him to the Jets because we got
Clay. Trade, okay.
We ended up getting Clay Matthews the next draft from that pick.
Okay. Yeah. So like, I mean, we look at Brett Favre's like last few years, right? Like he has this really good string. He hits 36 years old in 2005, and he starts declining. He throws 20 touchdowns, 29 interceptions, career high. Then the next year, 18 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. Also that year that he had 29 interceptions, they went 4-12. The next year, 8-8, but he was, 18-18, not good. The next year they do good, 13-3, but even then, 28 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, and he's 38 years old. And I mean, I don't know what y'all did in the playoffs that year, but like, you didn't go to the Super Bowl.
I think that was the year we lost in the conference championship in overtime to the Giants, where he threw a pick in overtime, right in field goal range, and then Tynes came out after he missed one to win it and nailed it. Because I remember there was a lot of emotions that day.
So I mean, so these last few years, not a whole lot to write home about. Also, I mean, there was the whole retiring thing, like retire, come back. Like he just kept kind of doing that. And so there's just a difference there, right? Where also Aaron Rodgers, I think a lot more people were higher on him than people are on Jordan Love, because there's thoughts that Aaron Rodgers could potentially even be that number one pick, to the Niners. Yeah. So, it's just different situations because, I mean, if Brett Favre was playing at an MVP level, then I think the one key there is what everyone's been saying is, okay, well, you continue to build around him until he proves to you that he can't do it anymore. And we're seeing that in Pittsburgh. They did not draft, like quarterbacks that highly to replace him. They didn't invest first, second, third round picks in a quarterback. I can't remember what Mason Rudolph was.
He was second. He was a fourth. I think he was a second, and that's why Ben was upset that year. I'll look it up right now.
Right. But regardless, like we've seen Pittsburgh has tried to build a team around him. And I think a large part of their deterioration has been the drama with Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown and all these kind of guys. But like they've tried to build around Big Ben, right? We saw the same thing with the Saints. Like they had different prospects during the last few years, but realistically, third round. Yeah. I mean, but even that, like there's a difference in a third round pick and a first round pick. A third round pick can be a developmental guy that we're going to say, hey, whenever you're done, this is the guy. First round pick, there's an expectation of within a few years, he's the guy, just because of the way that contracts work. The best time to compete is when your quarterback's on a rookie deal, especially with, the first round. When you take a guy in the first round, it's because you want that 5th-year option on them. So, yeah, I mean, there's just a difference when it comes to the whole Brett Favre situation. And also, I mean, just seeing, Booger McFarland made the call out whenever Seattle picked a wide receiver, which, I mean, we know that they have good receivers, but he was like, they're helping their quarterback and Green Bay isn't necessarily doing that. And yeah, it's got to be a sucky situation for the fans to be in, because once again, like you said, I think most Packers fans are probably on Aaron Rodgers' side for this because of what's gone on over the last few years. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the GM, because honestly, if I was anyone in the organization that had the power to make that decision, I'm siding with Aaron Rodgers, because I think the fan base historically, looking down like 20 years from now, is going to look back, and if they chose a general manager over an Aaron Rodgers, well, that general manager better deliver a Super Bowl in the Jordan Love like era within probably 5 years, realistically, because how long would that general manager actually last if they're not, competing for Super Bowls? He better do that. Otherwise, everyone's going to, hate that and that time and what happened there for so long.
And God forbid that if we do get rid of Rodgers, he wins elsewhere, because then that's just even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, as you and some other friends know, if he goes and wins another Super Bowl, I'll be more than happy for him. It doesn't matter where. So, but
it'll be almost worse than Tom Brady leaving, right? Because the Patriots, they had their worst year. The talent wasn't there.
and the
Even Bill
and the
Belichick
contract
said,
expired. Like, it was like,
yeah,
the agreement that they
he,
initially made when they signed the contract, it was over with, and they both decided. It seemed like both sides were just done with each other. So
yeah, and Brady was like 42, so there's or 41. I don't know the exact age, but there, yeah, it's seeing Brady go and do that. And once again, it would be worse than that, I think, because like you said, the contract expired. Bill Belichick himself said they sold out. They won 3 rings, but it left them in the spot that they were in there, to where they just didn't necessarily have the same amount of talent for Tom Brady to continue to compete over the next 3 years. That Aaron Rodgers, he's in a similar situation. If he can still compete over the next few years that he's playing, so if he goes to a team that has the talent, then there you go. And I think, like you said, Packers fans would be so happy for him, but it would just be such a shadow over that general manager's job, because if Rodgers is gone, I imagine he's still there.
Yeah, just last point. Whatever happens next is gonna be a huge, because it's gonna be a huge tipping point for the Green Bay organization. Because as much as I like Jordan Love, as of right now, the fact that he didn't dress a lot last season makes me feel like he's still a long way. And if we do have to get rid of Aaron Rodgers, I feel like, especially Packer fans, I'm just saying, get ready. I think there's going to be some rough years of non-winning, because Rodgers is, because then Devontae Adams is going to be gone. Only got a year or two left in his contract. He may want out. Same thing with, I think, Bakhtiari. He may want one more big contract, and then from there, all we have is Jair, and maybe.
But even he, in a few years, will need a contract.
Yeah, we just exercised his 5th-year option. So yeah, he could easily say, we've been stinking the last few years. Organization screwed over Aaron. Like, as good as I am, I know I'm not as big a person as Aaron Rodgers. So yeah, let me go somewhere else where I know I won't get screwed over. So we'll see what happens. But I guess now we can move forward. Now we've